Zhang Yi gave a cold laugh. You want to kill me? What else? Ruan Ping tilted his head, looking at Zhang Yi. A minor figure like you? If I'd wanted to kill you, you'd have been dead a year ago. A chill suddenly ran down Zhang Yi's spine. He hadn't even sensed the presence of such a formidable monster beside him. Over the past year, the slightest hint of murderous intent from this man could have ended Zhang Yi in his sleep. But, if the man had remained in Tianhai City all this time, he couldn't possibly know Zhang Yi's current strength. Zhang Yi drew a deep breath. The silver-gray ring on his right wrist slowly cracked open, its contents flowing like mercury down his arm to form a sharp sword in his palm, sword in the tree. Seems you're not inclined to explain your origins. Very well, I'll seek the answers myself. The mockery on Ruan Ping's face deepened. He extended his right arm. A golden light appeared in his hand, coalescing into a 2-meter-long war spear. A flash of light appeared in Zhang Yi's left eye as he anticipated the trajectory of the incoming attack. Ruan Ping raised the spear and hurled it directly at Zhang Yi, the motion as effortless as tossing a pebble. Yet the moment it left his hand, it unleashed a terrifying tempest. A thunderous roar shook the skies above Tianhai City as the spear instantly traversed the hundreds of meters between them, obliterating everything in its path. The earth split open, the soil and rock were utterly annihilated. Zhang Yi extended his left hand, calmly blocking the attack with a dimensional gate. The terrifying golden spear instantly vanished into the dimensional gate, disappearing without a trace under Ruan Ping's confident gaze. Not even a single droplet of water splashed. The smile on Ruan Ping's face slowly faded, his confidence replaced by confusion and astonishment. How is this possible? Your strength shouldn't be enough to block my golden spear. Zhang Yi pressed 2 fingers together, pointing them at Ruan Ping. Now, can you block this next move? Ruan Ping stared at Zhang Yi with surprise, his body instantly tensing as he prepared to defend. Golden supernatural surged around him, making him appear like a Buddha statue cast in gold. But the next moment, he felt an overwhelming force assaulting him from all sides, like a colossal fist crushing him into a tight ball. Snap! The sound of bones being forcibly dislocated echoed. Despite the golden light shielding him, Ruan Ping's body twisted into an unnatural shape. Cough, cough, he coughed violently, spitting a mouthful of blood from his throat. How is this possible? You shouldn't be this strong. Ruan Ping roared in fury. He couldn't believe that in just one short year, someone's power could increase so rapidly. Remember, when he first arrived in Tianhai City, Zhang Yi had been nothing more than a bug, slightly stronger than the rest, in his eyes. Yet now, he had been utterly crushed by that very insect. Perhaps it was time for Zhang Yi to reintroduce himself. After absorbing portions of the evil demon and the divine nest sun god, coupled with his deepening grasp of the Heart Sutra, his ability to absorb origin had accelerated, greatly enhancing his power. Zhang Yi's ability index now soared to an astonishing 25,000 points. Should he encounter the Nash Kingdom Prince again, even if victory remained unlikely, he now possessed the absolute capability to ensure his own survival. For he was chaos, the embodiment of absolute defense. Even within the realm of black charioteer powerhouses, he stood as an exceptionally formidable presence. Realizing the situation was dire, Ruan Ping's body instantly transformed into a golden light, streaking toward the distance. His target was Zhang Yi's stronghold, his shelter. What incredible speed! Zhang Yi couldn't help but utter an admiration. But no matter how fast he is, it can't surpass teleportation. Swish! Zhang Yi instantly activated the dimensional gate, reappearing directly above Ruan Ping. In his hand, the sword in the tree condensed dark power of the void. A massive black hole materialized behind him, unstable dark power of the void surging forth like demons, coiling around his right arm and climbing up the blade of the sword in the tree. Zhang Yi swung the sword viciously at Ruan Ping. A massive black blade sliced through space, instantly materializing behind Ruan Ping. Void slash! Golden energy surged in Ruan Ping's right hand once more, coalescing into a colossal sacred shield that blocked his body. His abilities seemed to be a release department power, allowing him to materialize various weapons from his energy. Clang! The colossal void blade slash struck the golden shield. Though Ruan Ping's feet were planted firmly into the ground, the terrifying force of the impact still sent him flying backward thousands of meters. The earth beneath his feet shattered completely with a thunderous crash. "Oh? You actually managed to block my attack." Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow. His opponent's strength seemed even more formidable than he'd anticipated. It appeared capturing him alive using his own abilities wouldn't be a simple task. After all, compared to his defensive capabilities, offense wasn't his particular specialty. Ruan Ping used the momentum to create distance between himself and Zhang Yi. He fixed his gaze on Zhang Yi, the previous disdain completely vanishing from his face. A space ability user, just like before, capable of teleportation. And now, his teleportation range has reached 4 kilometers. That strike he just launched at me had no attack trajectory. It seemed like an indiscriminate attack within a certain area. The range of such an attack must be limited, it can't be unleashed without restriction. Therefore, I must maintain sufficient distance from him. Ruan Ping instantly analyzed Zhang Yi's ability characteristics. His left hand opened, and golden supernatural rapidly coalesced into a massive longbow. His right hand grasped at the air, and a golden arrow materialized in his palm. Sacred Dao Bow. Ruan Ping swiftly drew the bow to its full extent, placing the golden arrow upon the string. Golden supernatural surged like a storm, powerful abilities coalescing on the bowstring, thick and tangible. It was impossible to tell whether it was a weapon forged from supernatural or an actual bow and arrow. The arrow locked onto Zhang Yi, and without hesitation, the attack launched instantly. Within Zhang Yi's left eye, the arrow's trajectory materialized. Though it appeared to be a single, straight arrow heading toward him, its path suddenly fragmented into countless chaotic possibilities. Every time Zhang Yi anticipated its trajectory, it would instantly morph into an entirely new path. A time-based ability? Or perhaps a rules category? Before Zhang Yi could ponder further, the golden arrow had already carved a golden channel through the air, hurtling straight toward his chest. Zhang Yi ceased all movement, instead openly activating the 3,000 layers of the dimensional gate. He sealed off every possible direction around himself with impenetrable defense. The golden arrow instantly reached the entrance of the dimensional gate. Yet, as if possessed of its own consciousness, it bypassed the gate entirely. Whoosh! The golden arrow began circling the massive circular barrier formed by the dimensional gate, accelerating to over 10 times the speed of sound. Outside the dimensional gate, it coalesced into a golden sphere. A single golden arrow, moving so fast it created the illusion of a glowing orb. So it's a tracking arrow. Zhang Yi instantly recognized the arrow's nature. He had faced this ability before. Weapons based on the law of cause and effect were among the most troublesome abilities. Its presence meant Zhang Yi's Space Shuffle ability would be rendered useless. Because Space Shuffle's instant teleportation essentially involved passing through one-dimensional gate to another. For a fleeting instant, he would momentarily appear within the real world. And during that brief moment, he could potentially be struck by the golden arrow. Unfazed, Zhang Yi instructed the intelligence system, lock onto that golden arrow. Analyze its trajectory. The intelligence system responded swiftly. That supernatural arrow is moving at high speed in an irregular pattern. Its trajectory cannot be determined. All right. Zhang Yi sighed, resigned to the limitations. He couldn't demand too much from the intelligence system, after all, it was just a machine. If it could even counteract the Black Chariot's abilities, that would be downright monstrous. Looks like I'll have to handle this myself. A vortex-like glow twisted within Zhang Yi's left eye. Centered on him, time slowed within a 3-kilometer radius. Time-based ability, Time Swamp. The golden arrow's flight speed instantly decreased by 30%. Combined with the predictive power of everything follows the trail, this allowed Zhang Yi to track its trajectory. Then, Zhang Yi unleashed the power of Divine Realm Netherworld Cleansing, snapping the golden arrow clean in two with a sharp crack. Seeing his golden arrows crushed in Zhang Yi's hand, streaks of golden light plummeted from the sky. Yet a maniacal grin spread across Ruan Ping's face. If you make such a fuss over a single arrow, what difference would a few more make? His right hand clenched at the void, conjuring 5 massive golden arrows simultaneously. With his longbow fully drawn, he unleashed them directly at Zhang Yi. What a hassle. This is my turf, I don't want to make too much of a mess here. Zhang Yi formed his fingers into a sword, aiming it at Ruan Ping. I was just waiting for my skill cooldown. What are you waiting for? During the waiting period, the power of the void had already condensed completely. 5 golden arrows streaked toward Zhang Yi, while from his fingertip, a sphere of extreme darkness, about the size of a bullet, pulsed with unstable energy before erupting in an instant. One strike, a black line piercing the space between them. The golden arrows collided directly with the star-piercing cannon. The terrifying clash of energies unleashed a blinding light that sliced the world into 2 distinct realms. One realm was bathed in dazzling gold, the other plunged into utter darkness, as if swallowed by night. Boom! The shockwave radiated outward from its epicenter, sweeping past Ruan Ping and Zhang Yi's everything under heaven and engulfing Tianhai City. An area spanning tens of kilometers was utterly obliterated, all traces of human activity completely vanishing. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited zone. Had anyone lived here, none would have survived that blow. Ruan Ping realized his attack had inflicted little lethal damage on Zhang Yi. It dawned on him that defeating Zhang Yi would be exceptionally difficult. Let alone killing him. He drew a deep breath, channeling his supernatural energy into his right hand. Golden energy surged like ocean waves, producing a roaring sound behind him. From this sea of golden energy, he drew 13 arrows. With speed too fast for the naked eye to follow, he fired all 13 in rapid succession, each arrow hurtling straight toward Zhang Yi. 13 golden arrows, one after another, each subsequent shot carrying slightly more energy than the last. Bang! Each arrow shattered upon striking the one before it, scattering into a golden rain that channeled its force into the next arrow. In this manner, all 13 arrows converged their power into a single, ultimate arrow, hurtling toward Zhang Yi's dimensional gate. Zhang Yi's gaze hardened. This strike contained terrifying power, even he had to take it seriously. Protect! The dimensional gate stood before him. The golden arrow pierced through 7 gates in an instant before sinking into the 8th. This was the absolute limit of what a black charioteer outsider could achieve by unleashing every ounce of their power in their most devastating strike. Yet after delivering this blow, Ruan Ping showed no hesitation. He transformed into a golden beam of light, hurtling directly toward Zhang Yi's shelter. From the very beginning, his objective had been crystal clear: defeat Zhang Yi by any means necessary. Since this was Zhang Yi's home turf, he intended to wreak havoc on a grand scale. Ideally, he would slaughter everyone Zhang Yi held dearest, shattering Zhang Yi's psyche to make him an easier target. Yet when Zhang Yi saw where Ruan Ping was headed, he showed little sign of concern. For directly ahead of Ruan Ping, the spherical structure atop the shelter, resembling a Euro castle, suddenly unfolded. A massive, pitch-black cannon barrel had already extended, locked onto Ruan Ping's location. Lu Karen sat in the control room, her focus entirely on the golden light streaking toward her on the monitor. Thanks to Zhang Yi's time delay, she had already calculated the opponent's trajectory. Ruan Ping's most powerful strike now coincided precisely with the gap in his supernatural abilities. Her eyes fixed on the screen, she pressed the firing button without hesitation. The black barrel instantly glowed red. Even Lu Karen's specially crafted heavenly dimensional weapon overheated under the immense force it absorbed. No earth-shattering roar erupted, only a 50-centimeter thick crimson beam pierced the heavens, streaking toward Ruan Ping. Ruan Ping's focus was entirely on fending off Zhang Yi's pursuit. He never imagined those weak, ordinary humans could inflict any harm upon him. Only when that crimson light instantly closed in, its terrifying force enveloping his body, did terror first flash in his eyes. Boom! Facing mortal peril, he unleashed every ounce of power within him, arms crossed horizontally before his chest. Dazzling golden supernatural energy surged forth like a storm. From afar, he resembled a golden sun. The two energies collided. The power unleashed by the heavenly dimensional weapon surpassed even Zhang Yi's star-piercing cannon. Ruan Ping, whose supernatural powers were now depleted, was instantly hurled backward by the immense force of the impact. His body traveled dozens of kilometers, crashing into the coastal waters near Tianhai City. Zhang Yi pursued without hesitation, instructing Lu Karen, "Start charging energy. Prepare for the second strike. Fire the moment the timing is right." This was Tianhai City. His territory. The advantage of home turf significantly amplifies a mutant's combat prowess. Just like the evil demon of Edo Castle. Thus, Zhang Yi would be even more formidable in Tianhai City. Over a year ago, during his confrontation with the Sky Dragon King, he had already demonstrated the Tianhai City cannon. And the evolution of his weaponry had never ceased. Excessively large weapons, requiring too long to charge, were impractical to carry during combat. Thus, Zhang Yi never carried them personally. But storing them within Tianhai City as part of its foundational strength posed no issue whatsoever. Mutants were constantly evolving, and so too were the weapons of this world. Acquiring the Yuan material signaled a new era for firearms. As a world-class mechanic, Lu Karen wouldn't let such an opportunity pass. Lu Karen's face glowed with excitement. As a mutant whose combat prowess was nearly negligible outside the mechanical realm, she had just severely wounded a Black Chariot-class mutant using the heavenly dimensional weapon she crafted herself. This immense sense of accomplishment made her tremble with excitement. "Yes, brother." Lu Karen took a deep breath and immediately began charging energy, ready to launch a second attack at any moment. Thus, the barrel of this weapon had a lifespan of only 30 seconds, and each shot consumed a staggering 2 tons of Yuan stone material. But witnessing its power made it clear, every bit of it was worth it. Ruan Ping was hurled into the sea. He surfaced from the icy water, gathering his golden supernatural powers beneath his feet to form a stable platform. His entire body was soaked through. He gasped for breath, looking utterly bedraggled. The upper half of his clothes had been blown to shreds, exposing his deathly pale back. Yet along his spine, a terrifying gash had opened, exposing black bone. Zhang Yi had arrived on the scene. Witnessing this sight, doubt stirred within him. This guy's body is strange. Could he be a cyborg? Though questions lingered, Zhang Yi's attack showed no hesitation. Strike while the iron is hot. Capturing him alive was an option, but killing Ruan Ping was the priority. Not a single drop of mercy would be shown. The sword in the tree sliced through the sky, void slash. Hovering mid-air, Zhang Yi swung his long sword relentlessly. The narrow, black edge descended like a vast net toward the sea surface, leaving Ruan Ping no room to dodge. If Ruan Ping tried to match Zhang Yi's speed, he stood absolutely no chance. Now gravely wounded, he had no escape but to clash head-on with Zhang Yi. Gasping for breath, the golden light surged around him, eventually coalescing into a thick suit of golden armor over his body. The void blade slashed, clanging against his armor and actually deflecting Zhang Yi's attack. Yet with each strike of the void blade, the radiance of his golden armor dimmed slightly, and Ruan Ping's body was violently knocked back, retreating uncontrollably. Meanwhile, the heavenly cannon had completed charging its second shot. This time, Ruan Ping was prepared for that terrifying force, sensing it the instant it approached. But what good was that awareness? Even facing only Zhang Yi on the front lines was already overwhelming for him. Disable your limbs and surrender. Or die. Zhang Yi declared. Ruan Ping's gaze darkened, his eyes burning with uncontrollable fury and despair. You want me to surrender? To a mere insect like you? Ha! Absolutely impossible. He roared, his right hand coalescing golden supernatural energy into a colossal war spear hurled viciously at Zhang Yi. But this time, it couldn't even pierce a single-dimensional gate of Zhang Yi's. You're too weak. Zhang Yi said coldly. These words enraged Ruan Ping beyond measure. The golden light on his body squeezed out like water being forced from a sponge, transforming into all manner of weapons that assaulted Zhang Yi. Yet the phrase absolute defense was no idle boast. Defense is the best offense, that was Zhang Yi's creed. When facing an existence beneath him, Zhang Yi always struck with devastating force, leaving his opponent no opening. Since you seek your own demise, don't blame me. Zhang Yi twisted his fingers mid-air. A colossal force instantly warped the void, violently compressing Ruan Ping into a mere mass. Simultaneously, Lu Karen unleashed the earth-shattering strike of the heavenly cannon. Under the dual assault, Ruan Ping's body was nearly obliterated. The violent explosion vaporized seawater from the East Sea, blasting a spherical void over 10 kilometers wide into the ocean surface. Immediately after came the thunderous roar of seawater rushing back in. At that very moment, Zhang Yi's pupils suddenly contracted. For on Ruan Ping's body, he saw something unusual. Under their assault, Ruan Ping's flesh rotted away. His pale skin peeled off in flakes like wallpaper, revealing a layer beneath, dark red, thorn-like skin. This was not human skin. His arms were covered in dense clusters of bumps, the texture of his flesh resembling metal. Particularly his arms. As fragments of skin fell away, his palms were exposed. No, those weren't palms. They were claws. Slender, covered in scales, dark red claws with sharp points. A beast-type mutant? Or was he never human to begin with? Zhang Yi's heart skipped a beat. If he were a beast-type mutant, there'd be no need to conceal his true form like this. Unless this was his natural state, forcing him to use artificial skin as a mask. What the hell was this creature? And where did it come from? Chaos reigned in Zhang Yi's mind, yet his body reacted before his thoughts could process. Kill! Regardless of who this enemy was, any existence that posed a threat deserved to be eliminated. Dead bodies were the safest option. Star-piercing cannon. Seizing the moment when Ruan Ping was at his weakest, Zhang Yi channeled his most potent energy into a star-piercing cannon, firing it directly at Ruan Ping. The hypervelocity void energy sliced through the void like a razor-sharp blade, piercing every obstacle between them and tearing through Ruan Ping's chest. Ruan Ping stared down at the black blade embedded in his chest as dark green blood trickled down from the wound. He seemed unable to believe the scene unfolding before him. Zhang Yi knew Ruan Ping had no strength left to fight back, his power was severely depleted. Therefore, he would take him alive. Zhang Yi dove downward, the sword and the tree in his hands suddenly swelling mid-air into thousands of massive vines. They spread like a vast net, descending to envelop Ruan Ping. Ruan Ping lifted his head, his expression eerily grim and sorrowful as he addressed Zhang Yi. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. After my death, your doom will not be far off. Remember, beings far more powerful than I will come. Nothing can alter your fate of death. This is your price, the price for slaying a god. Zhang Yi's brow furrowed, sensing something amiss. The release speed of the sword in the tree in his hand accelerated, aiming to bind Ruan Ping completely. Gigantic vines filled the sky, converging mid-air to form an immense sphere that began compressing inward. But at that very moment, Ruan Ping raised his right hand. His fingers closed together like a blade, plunging directly into his own heart. A terrifying force erupted violently from his body. Ruan Ping chose to end his own life rather than become Zhang Yi's prisoner. Yet, faced with an explosion of this magnitude, Zhang Yi did not retreat. Instead, he plunged straight into the explosive force. An explosion like this poses no threat to me. Even in death, you shall leave your origin behind. A crippled black chariot, deluded into thinking this could stop Zhang Yi from claiming his origin, was utterly mistaken. The sword in the tree pierced straight through his body. Before Ruan Ping's flesh was blown to pieces by the blast, it enveloped his origin, returning it to Zhang Yi's grasp. Ruan Ping's origin fell into Zhang Yi's hands. He did not rush to absorb it, but instead stored it away first. This battle had also drained a considerable amount of his energy. However, thanks to the home field advantage and the assistance of the Tianhai City cannon, he secured victory without major setbacks. Yet, Ruan Ping's strength, coupled with the fact that the opponent had been hiding in Tianhai City for a year, still planted seeds of unease in his heart. Zhang Yi's gaze swept coldly across the surroundings, like a lord surveying his domain. Was Tianhai City not as secure as he imagined? Could hidden enemies still be lurking? And who exactly was this Ruan Ping? Where did he come from, and what were his true intentions? Zhang Yi had no answers to any of these questions. After several swift movements, he returned to the location of the Volt Shadow Troop and released everyone trapped within dimensional space. The previous battle had already left by Li Changqing and the others in a state of confusion and bewilderment. The mere aftereffects of that battle alone could easily annihilate every last one of them. Zhang Yi surveyed the remaining 29 members of the Volt Shadow Troop and stated flatly, "Every single one of you must strictly follow protocol and undergo Miss Yang Xinxin's assessment." Who among them dared voice objections now? They promptly responded in unison, shouting loudly, "Yes, for the supreme glory." Zhang Yi watched them closely as each one underwent Yang Xinxin's evaluation. Fortunately, the subsequent process proceeded smoothly. There was no sign of another Ruan Ping type individual. Nor did anyone know of Ruan Ping's existence as a mole. Though this was good news, Zhang Yi found it hard to feel cheerful. Because Ruan Ping had chosen to die by self-detonation. After his death, his body was completely incinerated into ashes. It was utterly impossible to obtain his life tissue or extract any intelligence from him. "Xiao Honglian!" Zhang Yi called out. "Present." Xiao Honglian stepped forward from the crowd, standing at attention before Zhang Yi. Her right hand rested over her heart, her chest held high. "Supreme, your orders." Zhang Yi pointed at her. "You were once part of Tianhai City's police force and excel in criminal investigation. I'll give you 3 days to thoroughly investigate every single person currently in Tianhai City. Ensure their backgrounds are clean and absolutely no suspicious individuals exist. Xinxin, go request Tianhai City's resident records from Blizzard City and provide them to her." Zhang Yi assigned the task with crisp efficiency. Yang Xinxin nodded. "Yes, brother." Xiao Honglian's expression brimmed with excitement. This was her first assignment since joining the Volt Shadow Troop. Now, she had another chance to get close to Zhang Yi. This time, she would seize the opportunity with utmost seriousness. She would strive to prove her worth to Zhang Yi. "Yes, Supreme Commander." Xiao Honglian shouted loudly. Li Changqing approached, his concerned gaze fixed on Zhang Yi. "Captain, about this matter. Should we coordinate with Blizzard City?" Zhang Yi pondered for a moment, a cold smile suddenly curling his lips. "Absolutely." Tianhai City was attacked. An Epsilon-level outsider has been lurking here for a year. The major regions of Huashu Kingdom are all suspects. Even if they weren't responsible, it could be foreign mutants plotting something sinister. I intend to bring this matter out into the open. Fortunately, this time the enemy had severely underestimated his strength. Otherwise, had that person struck a year ago, Zhang Yi couldn't even imagine the terrifying consequences. However, he knew deep down that this incident was most likely not orchestrated by the major regions of Huashu Kingdom. Otherwise, they would have notified Ruan Ping, and by that, they would have known exactly what level of power Zhang Yi possessed. Zhang Yi returned to the shelter with Yang Xinxin and immediately contacted the heads of Huashu Kingdom's major regions to inform them of the incident. "Just moments ago, I was attacked by a mutant with an ability index exceeding 20,000. He had been lying dormant in our Tianhai City for over a year. Evidently, this was a premeditated ambush. What are your thoughts on this, everyone?"